மாமே இது திருப்பி கொடுக்கும் நேரம் மாமே உடஞ்சா மேகமே மா மழையை கொடுக்குமே கிழிஞ்சா விதையிலே தான் காடு பொறுக்குமே இது தளபதி பேரு கேட்ட விசிலடி இது தளபதி உங்க நெஞ்சு நதிபதி இது தளபதி பேரு கேட்ட விசிலடி இது தளபதி உங்க நெஞ்சு நதிபதி.
Dear students, welcome. I'm Kirthika, the Faculty of History. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you all that there was a great response for the history series. So I have divided my history series as ancient, medieval, modern world and art and culture. So if you are preparing for prelims and mains, getting it collectively, because history generally I tell students never separate the topic. History to be studied together and then try to answer your prelims and try to write an answer for mains. So I'll take a very interesting topic of modern India today. But before getting into modern India, what is the syllabus of modern India? We generally start modern India with the later Mughals. And modern India ends with the death of Gandhi ji. Getting it? The death of Gandhi. Generally, historians have two views. One, we take independence as a view, 1947. But generally, we take the assassination of Gandhi ji. So Aurangzeb died in 1707. And in 1948, Gandhi's assassination took place. So this is the bracket of modern India. So first, let's understand what is there in modern India. Mughals ended with 1857. But we have early Mughals who come to an end in 1707 and later Mughals start with 1707. So when you look at 1707 here, later Mughals with the death of Gandhi. There is one more interpretation here as the advent of Europeans. Getting it? Generally, advent of Europeans is taught in modern India only. But per se, when you look at it, the Portuguese entered India in 1498. 1498 is the bracket of medieval India. And we have the Europeans entering India during the period of Jahangir. Sir William Hawkins sought permission from Jahangir to establish a factory at Surat. And since the Portuguese were already there, Jahangir was highly impressed with Sir William Hawkins because he was very fluent in Turkish language. On seeing his authority over Turkish language and Jahangir's mother tongue to be Turkish language, he was impressed. So Jahangir wanted to give them some concessions. So taking this into account, Portuguese defeated the Britishers at the Battle of Swali and then they met Jahangir. So history continues with Thomas Roe coming and taking the next Farman. So we have, the entry of Europeans starts with medieval, but technically we start Europeans with modern India only. When you look at the traditional brackets of modern India, this is the traditional brackets of modern India. Getting it? Because advent of Europeans, though it is discussed there, we discuss it as Portuguese, the Dutch, the Danes, the English and the French. So this is how. So now, when you look at the later Mughal, this is the modern India syllabus. When you look at modern India again, there are many kingdoms which are parallelly running. Let me give you an example. We have the later Mughals going on one side, parallelly. So we have the later Mughals. The later Mughals running on parallelly. Parallelly, we have the Marathas. Then we have the advent of Europeans. Then we have the independent kingdoms. So when you look at it, India in the beginning of 18th century, these kingdoms were all parallelly running. They were all parallelly running with each other. So parallelly running. So once we study all these separately, then we can mix it up. So modern initially looks a little bit tougher because books give all of them together. So we are just going to break them all separately and we are going to club. Because once you club all of them, your Carnatic wars would be easy. Because Carnatic wars took place between Hyderabad. That is, Hyderabad had a province called Carnatic. So it took place between Carnatic, in Carnatic with the Britishers and French. Then we had the 1757 Battle of Plassey. Plassey took place between Bengal and the Britishers. So we have Sirajuddaula here, we have Robert Clive, Britishers here. Then we have in 1761, the third battle of Panipat. So where we have the Marathas and we have Ahmad Shah Abdali, though independent kingdoms like Shuja, Rohilas all supporting. Then we have the 1764. So this is Plassey, this is Panipat, this is Buxar. And we have the three Carnatic War. To learn Buxar, we need to know the Britishers here. We need to know Bengal. So getting it? So it's all like kind of collective. And you can't put everything in a clumsy way and study. You have to compartmentalize. So today, what I decided, the topic, what I decided I would handle today would be the rise of Peshwas. So today, the topic would be the rise of Peshwas. So before getting into the concept of Peshwas, let me give you a small brief about the Marathas. If you look at the bracket of Maratha kingdom, it is from 1647 to 1818. Shivaji became the ruler in 1674. Ma'am, why have you given two brackets? This bracket is also accepted. This bracket is the coronation of Shivaji. And 1818 is the third Anglo-Maratha war. So the Maratha kingdom was a very big kingdom, one of the powerful kingdom of India during the beginning of modern times. You would have heard a statement called the Marathas ruled from Attak to Cuttack. Getting it? And the entire South India was almost under their control. So Marathas, though technically falls under medieval because Shivaji was a contemporary of Aurangzeb. Shambhaji was a contemporary of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb killed Shambhaji. Then an imprisoned Shahu, Shambhaji's son. Then comes Rajaram, the ruler of Maratha kingdom, who died shortly. Rajaram's son, Shivaji II, and Tarabai was ruling the Maratha kingdom. And Tarabai never wanted Shahu to be released, and she wanted her son, Shivaji II, to continue. So that's a very different part with medieval. Now let's keep this Shahu Maharaj. Shahu, I repeat, just a small background. Shivaji, the ruler of Maratha kingdom, his son, Shambhaji ruled the Maratha kingdom, and Shambhaji was killed by Aurangzeb. When Aurangzeb killed Shambhaji, years I'm not giving you here, we'll do it in medieval. Shambhaji was killed by Aurangzeb, and his son, Shahu, was taken as a prisoner. Whose son? Shambhaji's son was Shahu, was taken as a prisoner. So where is Shambhaji? Shambhaji is in the jail. He's under the control of Aurangzeb. So let's take this as number one. Number two, since Shambhaji was killed by Aurangzeb and Shahu was imprisoned, the Maratha nobles appointed Raja Ram as the next Chhatrapati. Raja Ram died shortly. Raja Ram's son Shivaji too. And he was a minor. So his mother Tarabai, the widow of Raja Ram, they ruled the kingdom. So now what happened? The year comes to 1707 because the Mughal ruler Aurangzeb died in 1707. The moment he died in 1708, we have later Mughals, Bahadur Shah I becoming the ruler. Now what did Bahadur Shah I do? He released Shahu. So in 1708, Bahadur Shah released Shahu. The moment Shahu came down to the Maratha kingdom, Tarabai was there. So Tarabai and Shahu fought a battle called the Battle of Khed. In the Battle of Khed, who was defeated? Tarabai was defeated. Shahu won the battle, and Shahu comes to the Maratha kingdom, and he becomes the next ruler of the Maratha kingdom. So the fifth Chhatrapati would be Shahu. So clear? This is what is the order. You as a student of UPSC should know the order, and this would be dealt in medieval India with the brackets. What did Shivaji do and all of them? Since the topic is rise of Peshwas, we need to understand Shivaji in 1674 coronated himself to be the Chhatrapati of the Maratha kingdom, and Shivaji's one famous pillar was the Ashta Pradhan. 8 ministers were governing the Maratha administration. The first Pradhan, the prime among all the Pradhan, the prime minister was the Peshwa. So the Peshwas were the general administrators of the state. Law and order was under the control of the Peshwa. Peshwas used to command the army. In absence of the king, it was a Peshwa who was like the home minister, and all taxes would be regulated by the Peshwa. So the Peshwas were working under the control of the Chhatrapati. Now when Shahu becomes the ruler, When Shahu became the ruler, Shahu in 1713, he granted powers to the Peshwa, and Shahu had 3 Peshwas under his control. So the first Peshwa under Shahu was Balaji Vishwanath. Balaji Vishwanath was the first Peshwa, 1713 to 1720. The second Peshwa was Baji Rao I. His rule was from 1720 to 1740. And the third Peshwa was Balaji Baji Rao. So you need to understand that how did the Peshwas actually rule. So 1740 to 1761. Shahu had 3 Peshwa. What is the bracket of Shahu? Shahu came to power in 1708 and Shahu ruled till 1748. Getting it? This is the bracket of Shahu. So Shahu had 3 Peshwa. And who's Shahu? Shahu, the 5th Chhatrapati, was Shahu. And we are talking about the rise of Peshwa. But when you look at the order from Shivaji, when you take the order from Shivaji, Balaji Vishwanath would be the 6th Peshwa, Baji Rao would be the 7th Peshwa, Balaji Baji Rao would be the 8th Peshwa. When you take the Peshwa, the first Peshwa from Shivaji, their number would be 6, 7, 8. So what were the Peshwas doing? Peshwas. And what was the capital of the Peshwa? Pune was the capital of the Peshwa. And now Chhatrapati's capital was at Satara. So Chhatrapati becomes a nominal head, Peshwa becomes a real head. And we always study a topic. The Peshwas work under the pleasure of the Chhatrapati. So without the Chhatrapati, Peshwas cannot do anything independently. So what did these Peshwas? And it was during Balaji Baji Rao, we have the third battle of Panipat taking place. And after Balaji Baji Rao getting it after, and he was the one who was able to make the Marathas go to heights. Attak to Katak was during Balaji Baji Rao's phase. And after Balaji Baji Rao, we have the next Peshwa called Madhav Rao. The East India Company will come into the picture. Then after Madhav Rao, we have Narayana Rao. Narayana Rao becomes the next Peshwa. And after him, we have Raghunath Rao. So who actually was very important in the first Anglo-Maratha war. Then comes Savai Madhav Rao, an infant, or we call him as Madhav Rao II. Then the last Peshwa we have Baji Rao II. Baji Rao II, because during his period only, the third Anglo-Maratha war took place. And by 1881, Baji Rao II was pensioned off and he was sent to Kanpur. His adopted son, Baji Rao II's adopted son, was Nana Saheb. Since he was there at Kanpur, Dalhousie cancelled the pension for the adopted sons. So Nana Sahib participated in the revolt of 1857 and was finally defeated. The Britishers executed them all. So we need to understand. So this is how, whenever you pick a particular topic, we have to study them in detail and connect it with the major kingdom. So naturally, if you know these facts by heart, I think your concepts would be easier and the attachment also would not be difficult. Hope it was useful. To learn more, you have to join our classes. So all the details would be given and my teaching way would be the same way. So this is how we go, step by step, order by order, chronology by chronology. Thank you very much. Good luck.